This is the Triumph Street Triple 765 RS in the cosmic yellow colorway. If you've been tuning in on the channel for the last few days, you've seen that this is our newest featured motorcycle as the giveaway bike on yammynoob.co. I've been wanting to do a street triple for quite some time. The last time I had one of these models was in 2020 as a giveaway bike, but there have been several changes and further refinements to this model that really are starting to place it back up to the top of the heap in the middleweight naked category. It's been the benchmark, the reference point for so long, and in today's detailed shop video, I'm gonna run you through some of the stuff you may not have heard about online, talk you through why some of the details on the RS matter over the R, give you a comprehensive ergonomics check, and just do a detailed rundown on this machine. If that's your thing, stay tuned, it's gonna be a great video. But make sure you head over to yammynoob.co and get your entries locked and loaded to win this thing. You are not gonna wanna miss it. Become a member on the website, that's your best chance to win. If you don't wanna do that, pick up a hat, a t-shirt, hoodie, whatever you want. Every dollar you spend not only helps to support the show, it also gets you entered to win this fantastic machine. I've given away over 54 different motorcycles, valued over well over $500,000, so I'd like to think that I know what I'm doing by this point. All right, let's start by talking about the differences on the RS versus the R model. Ever since the Daytona was discontinued in 2017, the Street Triple's had some pretty big shoes to fill. Not only did it need to be the class-leading, awesome, street-going sport bike it always was, but it now needed to have a little bit more performance and punch a little bit harder. They also needed to figure out a strategy to keep it price competitive, but also give people that premier middleweight sport bike experience that they've always had. So, starting a few years ago, they segmented the Street Triple into a lower base R trim and this new RS. The two models are actually quite different, and mechanically they are identical in the engine actually. The 765 motor is now using the pistons from the Moto2 platform. Triumph's been the engine supplier for that category since 2019. It features a 13.3:1 compression ratio, which is pretty darn spicy and pretty super sport-esque in my opinion. In the R configuration, it makes 118 horsepower, and in the RS configuration, it makes 128. Interestingly, Triumph says that those changes in horsepower are merely down to ignition and fueling. So in my opinion, it may be possible to get a base Street Triple R up to 128 horsepower with an ECU flash. Now, even though mechanically the R and the RS are similar engine-wise, that's kind of where the similarities end, because electronically speaking, the RS has a track mode. You have much more lenient ABS kicking in for a track spec bike. You also have different electronics, a bunch of different stuff, and a TFT display that we're gonna get into detailed on this video because there's a lot to talk about with that. Furthermore, in terms of suspension, the base R package comes with the Showa Big Piston Separate Function Fork, which means that rebound and compression are handled separately in each fork leg. The RS actually features the Showa Big Piston Fork. It's not separate function. You have springs and dampeners in each of the fork legs. That makes it more tunable for aggressive street riding. It just makes it a little bit nicer overall. To give you guys a little bit of background on that, bikes like the CRF 300L are actually very easily modified by literally just dropping a spring on the other side of the empty fork tube. This is really the setup you want if you're going to be actually tracking your motorcycle and are serious about its handling at the front end. Now back, of course, the RS features the signature Öhlins rear shock. In this case, it's an STX 40 unit. That's Öhlins' kind of mid-grade street oriented shock out back. You're not talking about a full Zoot TTX or anything like that. And in my opinion, Triumph has always had a nice collaboration with Öhlins, and I really think a Street Triple, you need to see the Öhlins logo and the Öhlins shock out back. It just looks proper. The RS also features Brembo Stylema calipers, which is a nice upgrade over what the R comes equipped with, and the master cylinder is an MCS unit from Brembo as well. Just feels a little bit nicer in the hand. It's still being pushed through ABS lines, so it's a little squishy. You're not talking about a race setup, but that is very different than the super base axial system that you get on the R. The RS also features some more wild colorways. You got the red, you got this cosmic yellow versus the R that you can pretty much just get in white and gray. The RS also comes with the bar ends. You get that really nice feature over the other ones. And you also get the seat cowl on this unit as well. So let me point out the weakest feature on this motorcycle and show you guys just how bad this TFT and dash system is. Okay, let's fire up this dash. First of all, you flick the key, and this is how long it takes to show anything. Triumph, good afternoon. There we go. Now it kind of gets it started. Now this dash has 4 different styles. None of them work well at all. I'll show you guys here. If you go to style 1, it's just like this very cluttered, confusing, like rev coming towards you system. The mile per hour is pretty clear up here, but then up here you have the styles that you saw before, and this just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I suppose this is the sporty version of it. You have a lot of overlapping information that doesn't really make a lot of sense. This one is even more cluttered. Like, why would I need RPM displayed as a number down to the 10ths unit, and then I also have RPM coming towards me here? It doesn't make any sense. And for some reason, Triumph gives you a lot of control over what you can see in each of these, and none of them are very good. That's the second style. Let's try this one. It's just slightly bigger than the other one. This is somehow even worse. And you just get information up here, but also like in the middle too. It's just very unclear. And then if you go to the home setting here, you have different setups. You have different display setups that you can change. You can change the visible trays. You think it's customizable, but honestly, it's actually not. It's just incredibly laggy and it doesn't work very well. And this is absolutely the weakest spot of this motorcycle. I can't understand for the life of me how Triumph released this motorcycle with this type of dash setup. It's unconscionable to me. Totally unconscionable. So this is the biggest miss in my opinion. Also, I'm gonna point you guys out to one more thing while we're here. This might be a bit nitpicky, but right over here, there's this very cheap, like just silver, almost paper clip-esque retaining clip holding the hoses in place. It feels remarkably out of place on an otherwise very clean and put together cockpit. They should have definitely at least painted this black. I don't know why this is silver. It really sticks out like a sore thumb. It looks like, you know, like wires between braces. This is not very good on this bike. This is one thing I had to point out that they're still doing. This is from the Daytona's frame where the shift rod goes through the actual frame right here. It's been like this ever since I can remember on pretty much all of the Daytonas, and they are still doing it, which makes sense because this is basically the same frame. So swapping this to GP shift, in my memory, is pretty darn difficult. I had to route this outside of the frame hole on my Daytona. So yeah. Also, strangest position for the reg rec I think I've ever seen. Behind the shock, that's a first. Never seen that before. Underneath the seat, it's all pretty tidy. You got battery, you got ABS module, got a couple fuses, fuse box over here, and then a nice little cubby hole that you could put, I don't know, a map, a wallet, cocaine stash, whatever you want back there. And you have the classic Triumph OK. That's their quality stickers that you see, the QC control throughout the Triumphs. Looking at the seat back in place, one thing I wanted to mention is that this stitching here can only be found on the RS. You can't get this nice cross stitching on the R model, and you don't get this neat little seat cowl. So it does add quite a sporty flavor to the RS here, don't you think? Funny enough, the headlight remains the most consistently controversial thing about the Street Triple. It's a love it or hate it type of thing. A lot of people think it's super cool. A lot of people think it's the worst thing in the world. I think it gives the bike a lot of attitude, a lot of flavor. It's a very unique look about it, and I think the DRLs give that nice little aggressive eyebrow look to it. Some people think it kind of looks like a Transformer, like a Bumblebee, but honestly, I think this bike would suffer if it just had a single round headlight. I think it's really cool that it has its own identity. It retains the twin bug eye lights from the original one because it kind of is a heritage model at this point. So I really like the fact that it has these lights. Looking a little closer at the engine, I have a lot of familiarity and time with the 675 and the Daytona, and the architecture to this machine is remarkably similar. The clutch looks the same, the head looks the same, the cam chain texture actually looks a little different. They might have updated that over the years because the 675 mil was known for being really clattery and really loud as the oil got up towards the head and it kind of got a little warmer. You know, the cam chain tensioner right here and the cam chains driving the two cams and the bottom of the engine there. On the original 675s, it was super loud, it was super clattery when it was cold, but I think that they've fixed that issue because I've not really noticed that on this new 765 mil, even with the new higher compression head and piston rather, and all that good stuff that this engine has. Also, the stock exhaust is quite different than it used to be. There's now this cross member in the middle, and it now routes in a very different way down to the bread box here that goes out there. This is most certainly a single welded system. I think that if you wanted to do a full system exhaust, that's the only way to do it. You can't do a slip-on on one of these. That's just the way it goes nowadays. I don't really think there's any way to change that. But kind of a crazy routing, huh? The Daytona 675 had a small valve inside of the exhaust that allowed it to be a little bit louder. Let's see if the Street Triple has it as well. It does not. That goes straight through right there. Or perhaps there's a valve further down the chain here, but from what I'm seeing right here, it looks like there's no valve. So hopefully this is, as loud as you like it. And it's really not very loud, I will say. On track, this thing was remarkably quiet. Another feature for the RS is that it comes equipped standard with the Pirelli Diablo Rosso Supercorsa SP. I think that's the name of this tire. Or is it just Diablo Supercorsa SP? Either way, this is a pretty high-spec DOT from Pirelli. Very, very sticky, as you can tell. I bedded it in real nice at the track. Really nice wear out of this tire. I was riding on about a 66 degree day, pushing it pretty damn good. Had the suspension set up, got the preload dialed in, and no muss or fuss. That's some pretty good looking tire wear out of this thing, and I was really happy to see it. But the base Model R actually comes equipped with a set of, I believe it's Conti Road Attacks, which is a much lower spec than obviously the Pirelli Supercorsa SP. This is a tire that you can go out, buy, rip on track, and just have a ton of fun with. It is totally turnkey. All right, so one thing I wanted to point out to you people out there in the universe about the Street Triple is that you see this little outline right here on the cluster on the left-hand side. That is actually for a cruise control module you can spec in. It is an additional $365, if memory serves me correctly, plus tax and labor to install it. At $12,499 MSRP, I think not having cruise control is kind of a bummer, but then to charge more to just put it in there when you clearly have it ready to go is even more annoying in my opinion. This model is now not as well equipped as something like an MT-09 SP or a KTM Duke 990, even though KTM is doing the similar trickery with trying to get you to pay more, which is why I still really think the MT-09 SP is a great bike because there's none of that crap on that motorcycle. Also, the switch cluster for left-right doesn't feel quite the way I'd want it to. And the joystick, my God, the joystick has to go. I cannot stand this joystick. I've never liked this joystick the Triumph does. It drives me nuts. If you take a good look though, that is the Daytona frame from all the way back in 2013. It looks to be mildly changed. They may have made this bottom part a little wider off of it. That doesn't quite look the same as it used to, or maybe that's just my memory failing me. The subframe looks identical. It bolts up in the exact same way. And it really makes you wonder just how freaking good was that 2013 Daytona frame that they just keep using it on the Street Triple and it's still good. This motorcycle did receive some geometry updates. If I recall, the rake got a little steeper. It was a little bit more aggressive from the factory rather than Street Triples in the past. Now we'll do the ergonomics check. The bike is on a nice rear stand. I'm wearing my track boots just to give you guys an idea of how it would fit. I'm about 5'11", I weigh about 165 to 170 pounds, depending on what I've had in the day. And I really like the seat on this motorcycle, honestly. The seat is comfortable, it's very narrow. The Triumph has always felt kind of small for what it is. The Daytona always felt like a really small bike, and the Street Triple feels the same. The gas tank shape is not as flat as the Daytona used to be. That bike you could really get down and there was like a proper perch for you to just be full tuck, because that's what it was designed to do. But the Street Triple, you guys see, I have a very slight bend in my back. Pretty good control over the handlebars here. The reach to the bars for me is really not too bad. I can seat a little more forward on it and have my arms and hands pretty loose. I got a slight bend right here. And you guys see that right here, this is proper super sports stuff with the pegs being so high and the seat being so high relatively. So you're kind of squished right here because this right here, this subframe and that peg position is all Daytona. It's not quite as bad. I think they lowered it a little bit, but it's still pretty aggressive. But where you get some relief is right up here at the top. You can sit on this machine and really, I mean, I've done 4 or 5 hour rides on this already and it's really not that bad, which is pretty good for a naked sport bike. Now we'll show you off the stand. We swing a leg over the machine. Again, I'm 5'11", 32-inch inseam. I can very comfortably flat foot this machine. I can swing it side to side pretty easily. I feel like I have a pretty good command over this bike. If you're sized like me, you know, that kind of 5'10" to 6 foot range, you're gonna fit really good on this bike. This bike seems to have been designed with that kind of rider in mind, which is really great. Shorter riders may struggle a little bit because the seat height is 33 inches. So that does make this model a little bit taller than something you might find in the MT-09, or I'm not really sure about the Duke 990, but this definitely is one of the taller bikes in the segment. But being as thin as it is through the crotch and right here through the seat, you know, it's really not that bad to just be able to stand over this bike and have command over it. All right, folks, that's gonna wrap up our little detailed video here of the Street Triple in the shop. This is a really sweet machine, and despite its small shortcomings and the feeling that it hasn't really changed that much in the last 7 years, that's down to the fact that Triumph has just kept polishing and polishing and polishing this motorcycle. Yes, it's still fundamentally the same as it's been for a while, but that really is no bad thing. They nailed the formula back in the day, and they've just kept making it better and better. You know, products like the Street Triple from Triumph remind me of stuff like the Porsche 911, where you drive a 991, you drive a 992, you drive a 997. They're all gonna feel kind of similar, but you can tell they just keep getting better. You know, a little different, a little bit more refined, a little, you know, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, this is at a much lower level. The 911 is a, you know, very cherished, beloved model, but it's similar to this, right? It's changed a little bit over the years, but they've just kept the same formula, making it better and better. This is still the classic tried and true 3-cylinder, delicious sport naked experience on the street, and it's still pretty darn spicy on track. The increase in performance here has really made this the naked Daytona that it always knew it could be. This no longer gives up virtually any performance on a Daytona on track, other than the fact that ergonomics are a little bit compromised. Now, you guys did see on my first ride video that I did take it out on track. I will be putting out a video later this month that details a little bit more about what this machine is like on track, some of the pros, some of the cons, telling you guys a little bit about the experience of it. But that's gonna wrap up this detailed video on all the finer little bits and bobs on the Street Triple. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. Be sure to go to GameNoob.co and sign up to win this machine. You are not gonna wanna miss it. Seriously, it's not very often we give away yellow motorcycles. I think this is only the second or third yellow bike I've given away. Third, Ducati 1098 GSX-8R, and now the Cosmic Yellow Street Triple. And anytime a yellow bike's available, I do try to buy it because I think it's just so sweet. So make sure you get entered. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. If you have any questions about the Street Triple, I'm always on Discord. Become a member and you can ask me anything. Try to drop some in the comments and people might try to reply. I try to jump in the first 30 minutes of every video. I can't make all of them, but I do appreciate everyone watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Boys, it's really sad that this video is now over, but you know what's not sad? Winning a free motorcycle, and that's what this Triumph Street Triple 765 RS is designed to do. You know, nobody gives away bikes like your sweet Papa Yam. Nobody's doing Triumph Street Triples and Panigales and all the latest and greatest stuff. If you want access to win, become a member on GameNoob.co and don't miss your chance.